Chapter 11. The Story of Carter. Young Carter watched as his mother and father fought intensely. Being but a 3-year-old left the young boy with nothing but frustration and confusion. The two spiraled out of control, throwing things against the wall and slamming their fists into whatever was near. Loud words was all baby Carter could gather. The mother seemed to lose patience during the altercation and proceeded to throw a knife at the father, cutting his cheek badly. Carter's eyes widened, as he then had to watch his bloodthirsty mother attack the man with another knife. She was seeing red. The man managed to punch her in the face twice, but not before she plunged the blade deep within his gut. Baby Carter closed in next to her. She lay motionless on top of his bloody body and began to weep. She seemed sad, and Carter, being a toddler, knew nothing but to put his little hand on her. She jumped like she forgot she even had a son and stared at him, a stare that seemed to last forever. Why is Mommy's face like that? The toddler thought to himself. Carter looked to see his fallen father and hugged him. "Get up, Daddy," he spoke. The mother busted out in tears, and in panic she began to move quickly around the house, grabbing trash bags and cleaning supplies and tape. She proceeded to bag up his body and clean blood off of the kitchen floor, making eye contact with Carter every now and then as if checking on him while she cooked a meal. She was acting very nonchalant about the murder, and even threw the body in the back seat of her truck with a struggle. Once she loaded him up, she went over to Carter, covered in blood. "What's this?" Carter asked. She ignored him. "Let's get you in the car, honey." "No go," Carter yelled. She wasn't taking no for an answer, however. She loaded Carter up as he screamed and cried as they drove into the night. Hours passed and Carter eventually fell asleep. Carter awoke in the car seat next to his mom, outside of his dad's old factory he worked at. The soil was soft, and his mother began to dig. She obviously thought Carter would forget the events that were taking place due to her doing it right next to the car. Maybe she thought his young mind would help her cause. She came back for the body, quickly checking on Carter and even letting off a small smirk, one that Carter could only hope was sincere. She came back in the car and young Carter asked her again, "Where is Daddy?" "Daddy is gone, honey. I don't know how or why it happened, but he is gone." "Mommy hurt Daddy," he yells. She slams the brakes hard. "Don't ever say that again. I loved Daddy. You could never understand." Carter sat there motionless as the two drove home, confused and angry as his mother wept. Carter, year by year, grew up. He watched his mother cry by the window every night before bed, but Carter never grew to trust her like most kids would with their mothers. For you see, unbeknownst to Carter's mom, Carter saw and mentally recorded the events that took place that night. He replayed it over and over again. Only this same photographic memory kept him afloat in school with all his early trauma. In fact, for 10 years, Carter didn't even speak to his mom, nor did she speak to him. They were like two leaves that broke off the same tree but flew freely in different directions. Carter even made his own food daily after his mother's depression took over. Carter was 13 now and was walking to school. A black van approached. 3 men in law enforcement garb approached and motioned Carter to get in. He was reluctant at first, but one says, "We need to talk about Marion Talco," Carter's father. Carter hadn't heard his father's name in so long that his fears lifted and he hopped in the car. Just hearing his father's name made him relive the night of his death, and his nerves shot through the roof. He was visibly in distress. They immediately began interrogating Carter about the night his father was killed. He told them every grim detail. The men decided to escort Carter home with Carter's approval. The big van came up the driveway. Carter's mother came out immediately, yelling at the men. Carter heard, "You are under arrest for the murder of Marion Talco," and then heard a struggle. She was panicking and confused, but not denying any of the accusations. She was dragged to the vehicle. 2 men helped her inside, seating her across from Carter. Her eyes filled with hate as she mentally grasped what Carter had done. She leaped up and went to strangle him, her cold hands grabbing his neck. He grabbed her hands, and with the help of the police, got her pulled off, accidentally pulling off her wedding ring. The guards proceeded to slam her on the cold, hard floor of the van, while Carter assessed the ring he had never gotten a good look at. He quickly put it in his pocket. An agent will come pick you up from here tonight. Gather your things and call us if you need anything, the cop says as he shuts the door. Wait, Carter yells. What, son? The policeman asked. Please, don't let her out, he mumbled. No chance. We knew all along something was off with his death. Some cases just take some time. I'm sorry about your pa. I'll manage, Carter said as he walked back inside. Manage was the best way to describe Carter's behavior as he made his way into adulthood. He always obeyed in school and his new adopted parents, for he was always afraid of repercussions. He also held a deep compassion for his mother, but his fears kept him from visiting her in jail or even uttering her name. He never could get close with anyone either, until someone in the corporate world showed him an arena where smart people thrive. That someone was Monica. Carter was her intern, and he climbed the way up to CEO 10 years later. Monica loved how he surpassed everyone. Her only complaint, falling in love with him, was that whenever Carter failed or was overwhelmed, he pinned the pressure on others rather than handling it alone and overcoming through challenge. Carter just dressed well and was a genius. A picture-perfect CEO with a flaw only those closest could ever know. Carter awakes to Monica hovering over him, as if she had been talking to him this whole time. Monica's eyes widen as the two make eye contact. Monica? He speaks. She falls into his arms.
What were you doing, Carter? Out past curfew? I thought you were dead.
Carter tries to piece the memories back together as he slowly wakes up.
Carter, please stop ignoring me. You can't ignore this.
Silence! Carter yells. Something happened.
I know. You've been asleep for an hour since I got you off the street. Since then, a broadcast message came on the TV telling us that the ELIMA team are investigating a nearby comet crash, and that all of our rooms will be searched for questioning. Thankfully, I got you when I did, because they are patrolling the streets.
A comet? Carter thought to himself. Have they came here yet?
No. Please tell me where you were outside.
Carter quickly gets up and locks the door. A comet is what fell? He asks her.
Yes, that's what the TV said.
I think it was true.
How would you know something like that, Carter?
I think it was me. She looks at him in disbelief. No, I'm serious. It has something to do with this crown. I keep hearing everyone talk about the color. Don't you think it's weird mine is purple? Like, why is mine purple? Carter starts to pant.
Keep quiet, honey, and pretend to be asleep, she commands.
Why?
They're outside the door,
she whispers. Carter braces himself under the covers as they wait for a knock. Rather, the duo hears keys rattling, and the door is unlocked with ease. This doesn't surprise them in the slightest. 6 grunts all appear in the home one by one. Tightly gripped rifles point to the floor. They instantly begin picking the home apart, checking through all the couple's bags and belongings. They all approach Carter, who is now pretending to be just waking up. 3 of them forcefully toss his head around to see the crown's vial. They look at it and quickly back away as if they found the wrong thing. Where were you, Carter Talco, 1 hour ago? One grunt finally asks. Sleeping soundly? I'm gonna break, he thinks to himself. Didn't the loud blast wake you? I am a sound sleeper. Is everyone okay? Come on, man, just ask Monica this shit. I will ask the questions, Talco. The crown's cold, sir. No activity. Another guard assessing the crown speaks up. The guard talking to Carter scoffs. Malkov said we might find our answer in Carter's home, and I'm not so certain we can turn our backs yet. It would be hot, sir, another adds. I suppose you're right. Carter, you will be monitored more intensely than anyone in this facility. We want to believe the comet strike is totally an anomaly, but we all learned 5 days ago that those don't exist, didn't we, Carter? See, I thought it has been a week. Shut up, Carter. The guard annoyingly looks at Carter, scoffs a final time, and heads for the door. Come on, men, we have more houses to search. The guards all exit one by one, the final grunt shutting the door behind them. The second the door shut, Carter's crown illuminates purple, which also makes the fluid glow. Suddenly the light and fluid go out, but instantly pop back on vibrant blue. The entire room seems to illuminate blue as the crown readjusts itself. Carter gets the strongest metal taste in his mouth he has experienced yet.
Honey, the crown. It's blue and the fluid, it's all back.
She screams. Carter starts to seize.
Carter!
She screams.
I'll get help.
Carter grabs her by the neck and looks at her with blue eyes.
Carter will be fine, Monica.
Carter speaks in a deeper voice. She sits back quickly. Carter then falls face first on the bed, falling in a deep euphoric mind trip. He feels as if he is falling. Falling through a colorful chasm at top speed, he plops hard against a damp cave floor, lying motionless. 10 minutes pass and Carter still lays there. A loud voice bellows.
Must I do everything for you, Carter Talco? Get up and stand before me. You cannot escape this.
Carter looks up, shaking and smiling.
I know you are nervous, so I gave you an extra dose.
Carter walks to him, shaking but calm at the same time.
I will say, Carter, we could have never guessed that someone could fight our DNA by simply being afraid. Maybe specific to this weakling.
The entity thinks to itself.
My name is Zaizor, and you are my host. Together you and I will crush this planet before Zafson and the others even ponder it.
Comet, Carter mutters through the trance.
'Twas I. That is my property. Comet. I can send any size bit of the moon down to crash into anyone or anything. Best part is that it is all through my mind and the moon is huge. I wonder if I could send the whole moon down.
Zaizor thinks to himself.
Only if I have to.
He thinks, laughing within his mind. Carter starts to cry under the euphoria mask.
Carter, this is unbecoming. How about this? Obviously you're scared. Even worse, you're repelling my abilities by getting so nervous. Why'd I have to land on such a sissy? We gotta get this dude some party favors. How about you get in this tub for me?
Zaizor speaks as his massive arm reaches for an ornate tub. Sloshing was heard as the huge tub is placed before Carter. Carter's zombified body slowly looks down at the tub and he begins to tear up even more than before.
Nothing can change your fate. Destined to be harbored and coexist or be picked apart by the military. I could promise you one thing, though.
Carter looks up at the 57-foot beast.
Submerge in this tub, and I will defeat these losers for us. Let me take the weight off. I just need you alive. But if we put myself in control, there is no way I will lose. We will kill all the military in hope and win this battle for my kind. Other leaders out there are waiting for one of us to do something ambitious. And I will lead strong, starting with these crowned residents. 207, you said?
Do it for me, Carter speaks finally.
That was easy.
Just don't hurt Monica.
Done. Humans are sexy. Definitely want her alive. Step in the tub.
Zaizor speaks. Carter step by step walks to the golden tub. Incredibly nervous but enthralled, he doesn't have to do this alone. A challenge he can pawn off on another while he sits back. Or so he thought. He submerges in the cold blue fluid. Euphoria takes over as the water begins to glow vibrant blue. Carter's dream body eyes start to glow as well as he slowly forgets everything he knows. Zaizor had control. Carter lifts off the bed, making direct eye contact with Monica with blue eyes. Monica is about to speak up when Zaizor filled the silence. Monica is your name?
What do you mean, Carter?
Carter is asleep. I am Zaizor. She stumbles back, nearly falling from the bed. Fear not. Once my fluid runs dry here, Carter will regain full consciousness. Based on what happened earlier, I am sure I will have to use it. Monica stares in awe. I heard just about everything that has happened. I am a little fuzzy on the events in the cafeteria.
Carter was talking to some guys about the crown. Come to think of it, they even said rise Zaizor. What is happening? What do you...
I will be polite, Monica, but you are trying my patience. Very briefly, my superior race will take over this planet, and I need your help, Monica, to ensure I'm not stopped here.
Why would I help an alien takeover?
Carter will die if you do not help me. She pauses, as if contemplating which alternative was worse. Should I tell Carter about your length of hesitation? Zaizor asks.
Fine. I will help. But tell me what happened outside.
She pleads. Carter accidentally eavesdropped on Malkov and some doctor. The simpleton thinks he can just take the crowns off all of us. It looks like he even plans to do so tomorrow. He is scared of my crown. They have only seen green fluid crowns up to this point.
Take the crowns off. That would be torture. I already checked, and they drill into people's skulls. The crown would all die.
She says. They are to kill you and the other uncrowned family members as well. She gasps.
To keep our mouth shut, I'm guessing?
She said. Zaizor nods Carter's head. Monica sits quietly thinking about who to trust, but seeing Carter this confident, even if it weren't truly him, had her absorbing everything he said and strategizing how she could help. I know what you are thinking, but my plan is flawless, so listen up, Zaizor says. I am a being who despises uncertainty. They would not spring up a place like this without some form of mega-weapon. Anytime humans are unsure of the threat, they pack strong firepower.
How much do you know about us?
She interrupts. Enough, he coldly responds. We need to capture a grunt member of ELIM-8 to gather intel on the weapon they have. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of what. This is step 1. Step 2 is that I need you to cut and write on 207 slips of paper a direction and a language I will teach you tonight. All this must be completed before tomorrow night.
What is tomorrow night?
They are taking Carter, to a separate facility. They have suspicions that I am a leader and will stir up the others to raise a coup.
Are you the leader?
She asks. Show me you are loyal and I will tell you all that you desire to know, Zaizor responds.
At least tell me what the colors mean.
She asks. So fearless. What's with this girl? Zaizor thinks. Fine, but our language training begins immediately after this. She nods. So there are 4 colors. The red fluid represents crowns that have yet to find a host. They are the scavengers. They search in orbit or on Earth's surface looking for a suitable host. Then they make a choice.
A choice? What do you mean?
She asks. Well, the fluid decides what body is suitable for what task. The green you are familiar with are our scholars. They are the wisest, and it is even said that our All-Father dominantly had the green fluid.
You can have more than one color?
She asks. Our All-Father could switch between blue and green, supposedly. He died before I came about.
So that means you're a leader?
She asks. Blue is the color of our royalty, yes. When my crown landed about Carter's head, we refrained from using too much blue fluid until we were certain he was a good host. A taxing but necessary procedure. He pushed back severely and was very frightened by us as well, which made the sinking process take much longer.
Meaning he has toughened up and accepted his fate?
She asks. We are eons away from being in sync. I imagine I can make this work. If I am wrong, we have measures to get me a new host.
What about the orange crowns?
She asks. They are the soldiers. The bodies we don't need working brains to use. Basically our heavy lifters.
One last thing before we get started.
She asks softly. He looks into her eyes.
What changed your mind about Carter? You said you were uncertain.
She asks. My answer for that is challenging. The one you seek most certainly differs from the one I can offer.
I figured.
She said.
Actually, one last thing.
Monica, he yells.
You said we a lot. Does that mean that the crowns...
I have told you enough already. We must begin our scribes. We don't have time to speak freely. Cooperate with me and get me out of this prison. Then I will consider telling you what you seek, he responds. She sits in an office chair proudly and grabs some paper she had taken from the Gatlinburg cabin. Zaizor proceeds to explain how to write the ancient text. She needn't understand the language, for she is just to replicate the same sentence over and over again. 1 sentence per slip of paper. A sentence by the end of the long 8 hours she hopes to never write again. It is 9 a.m., 2 hours before breakfast. Monica falls asleep for about 20 minutes on top of the final slips of paper. Her hands are covered in smudged ink. Carter hovers over her sleeping body. She awakes with a start.
Carter, what are you...
Still me. Carter is very relaxed. He is actually dreaming right now.
About me?
She asks. Well, it seems to look more like a dream about some kind of settlement. A woman and a ring are there, but it isn't you. She's older. Monica's smile droops. Why am I wasting my time talking to her? All looks aside, I have a mission, he thinks to himself. Monica, in 2 hours you must quietly pass a slip of paper to each crown member in the dining hall. It is the only time they will all be in the same place.
That won't work. That place is riddled with E-L-I-M-8 grunts.
She added, Fortunately for you, they will have their eyes on me and me alone, Zaizor responds.
But I am his wife. Surely they will suspect me.
Who knows that you are Carter's wife? He asks.
Sergeant Malkov and a few grunts.
Malkov eats elsewhere, so that leaves the few grunts. How many exactly?
2 only.
Those 2 will be the first guards we capture to interrogate. Most of the other guards, even if they saw you with Carter at some point, would likely not recognize you. The hard part is making sure each crowned human gets a slip without the transaction being noticed.
Push comes to shove.
She asks. I will have to rain down some help. Then it may get a little loud early on. We need to try to avoid this as much as possible. If I can find out what they have here to protect them, then I can give the intel to a Green Crown to analyze the best way to be triumphant.
You're gonna fight?
She asked, panicked. I will be triumphant. There's no way out of here without a fight, it seems. We just need to have the upper edge. Me having full control of Carter will help for sure. I just need to use my fluid sparingly, he responds. Carter quietly floats within the tub. He is sunk to the bottom as blue fluid pours into his nose and mouth. He is dreaming away the fears. The clock strikes 11, and the couple make way to the dining hall. They separate when they get there, and Monica quietly awaits Zaizor's signal. Meanwhile, Zaizor sits down and begins to eat. The crown's vial is a purplish tint, only because Monica covered the outside in a purple permanent marker. Zaizor uses a minuscule amount of blue fluid to grow just his pinky into a larger blue pinky with a long claw. In between bites, he etches words into the tray's bottom. Finally, as if on cue, the crowned men that sat with Carter yesterday return. They all sit around Carter. Monica is still hanging out in the lunch line, waiting for Zaizor's move. They start to speak, but Zaizor drops his tray on the floor. They all look at him confused. Would you get that for me? Zaizor asks softly. They all look down at the tray to see these words written in their own ancient language. Rise, Zaizor. Capture Grunt ID 2296. Capture Grunt ID 2281. Interrogate. Provide hope weapon data. Inform via light emission at 1 p.m. The men read this in less than 3 seconds and all looked to Zaizor in unison. Don't nod. You have no choice but to obey, Zaizor says. Zaizor peels the tray off the ground. The men consume some green fluid and devise the exact plan that will allow them to get the 2 guards out of the cafeteria before breakfast is over. 2 of the men head for the lunch line, while the other 2 approach a group of guards in the room. The 2 that approach the guards spark up unavoidable small talk. They know just the right words to keep the mass of guards laughing, and at least partly distracted, which just leave the 4 guards in each of the ceiling's corners, all equipped with sniper rifles. The other 2 start looking at all the guards to locate the ID number printed on the badge. Badge after badge, every guard in the line, bathroom, and kitchen has the wrong ID. When suddenly they find 2281 cleanly printed on the badge of a soldier. 'Twas the guard who first took Carter from his car when he arrived at Hope. One stops to talk to the grunt while the other goes inside the nearby bathroom. The distracting party just needs to keep him still while the one in the bathroom hacks the radio he has with his crown. A flawless plan that gets the green in the bathroom tapped into 2281's radio. 2296, the grunt that showed Carter around the city, is now the only target. However, 2296 sits next to Carter. Hello, Carter. You liking the city of Hope? He asks. Zaizor looks to him slowly. It's certainly accommodating, he responds. Right. You hear the boom last night? He asks. Yeah, worst alarm clock ever, Zaizor responds. What time did you say you woke up every day? 4, like I said yesterday. Don't gotta be so rushy, man. I'm trying to help here. I don't need small talk. I need this crown off my head. God, I'm good. He looks at Carter smug and shakes his head and walks to the other grunts, all during which a green is hacking his radio from under the table. Get out from under the table, a Sky Unit member shouts. The responsible green sits upright quickly and pleads for apology. The grunt returns to his surveying. The greens all returned around Carter. So? Zaizor asks. What do we say to the radio? Go to the bathroom in 5 minutes, one of you. Tell them they are needed at house 16B, Zaizor says slowly. Zaizor notices that all focus from the 4 Sky Unit members draw to him. Distraction, Zaizor asks. One step ahead, boss, one responds snidely. A green starts to fight with another green, an all-out blood bash in the blink of an eye. Loud metal clanging as the 2 use green fluid to strengthen their bodies to inflict serious damage. Both are bloody before they are tackled. One Sky Unit member looks back to Carter to see everyone is just eating. Nothing to be suspicious about. The green goes to the restroom to follow his command. Minutes pass as Monica remains in line, glimpsing for Carter's signal. Moments later, the green in the restroom proceeds to give both of the guards the following message. Grunt 2296, Grunt 2281, you are needed at House 16B. There's a disturbance, double time. The two grunts follow their fake command, making Zaizor quietly scoff as they leave. Monica looks to Carter, who coughs twice. It is her move. Monica swiftly and precisely gifts every crown a crumpled piece of paper. Some she uses sleight of hand to put in their pockets, and some she drops on the floor. To ensure, the crown picks it up just by uttering an ancient word.
Nasu.
To grab. The green being as wise as they were, knowing the information must regard a coup, so they wisely refrain from unraveling the papers until they get back home. Like a game soon to come, everyone quickly eats their food and runs to their homes. The guards think nothing of it. A relaxed period after a meal. Normal. They are also going slightly easy on everyone, considering every soldier was informed of tonight's massacre. Zaizor exits from the cafeteria last with Monica at his side.
How'd it go?
She asked. Fine, considering we are not 20 foot underground in a makeshift cell.
They have those? How do you know?
This morning before breakfast, when we separated, I spoke with a green, got some extra details by accident. A nearby green, a younger boy, was threatened by a guard for saying something threatening. I imagine his young mind is not compatible with the crown. Zaizor responds.
Not compatible? What will happen?
She asks out of concern. He will adapt, or he will die. The body must coexist with us for his green-colored crown to work properly.
And if not?
The crown has no choice but to terminate itself. The attachment process is grueling for us. This version of the crown we had to use before coming here, just as incapable of reattachment, he responds. She looks down quietly in concern for her husband. Carter at the bottom of the tub could only hear the odd echoes you hear when you're submerged. The words Zaizor spoke were only heard as vibrations. No amount of focus was possible. However, due to the drug-like properties that are the beans. Meanwhile, back at House 16B, 3 greens await the grunts. The greens immediately go for disarming blows to get the men on the ground. They are too slow to match the speed of the greens. Let us out of here, one yells after being forcefully tied up to a pipe attached to the wall with thick zip ties. We need information, a green speaks up as the other guard is tied to the oven. What is this? You all finally making a move or something? The grunt screamed. Keep your voice down, slug. We will get our information, another green adds. Screw you, scum. Get the hell back to your planet where you belong. You cannot hurt us humans. One green interrupts by grabbing the man and cutting his tongue off. Gushing blood prevents him from screaming. Something the green knew would happen. The green then holds his head upright as he gasps for oxygen, his throat filling with blood. The other grunt loses his once confident look and looks to his comrade for any form of comfort. Let him breathe, man, the grunt yells. What is Malkov's weapon? A green screams. Malkov's weapon. He speaks softly. You heard my question. The conversation is interrupted by the obnoxious squirming coming from the bleeding grunt. He punches the floor as the green easily holds his head up to drown. I made an oath, he screams. There is a chance you will make it out of this alive if you comply. Our onslaught will likely miss your direct family. If you defy us, we will target your loved ones. Trust us. Our brains work 1,000 times stronger than yours. We know exactly how to torture you while leaving you alive. We will snip every nerve and cut every... You won, the grunt screams. The green allows the other grunt to return his posture. He immediately expels the mouthful of blood and gasps for breath. The information, a green yells. Malkov has a supersuit, like a mech suit. It's equipped with fire absorption vents and has tank cannons and machine guns. He calls it Colossus. It is impenetrable. He speaks softly while trying to stop his friend's bleeding with some paper towels. That is all we needed. The green who cut the grunt's tongue said. Thank you for freeing him, he yells. Well, he will die and so will you. No medic here wouldn't report us and I don't trust you. The grunt's face turns to horror as he desperately tries to run. A green uses some fluid to make his arm grow slightly, with pulsing green veins, and he grabs the running grunt by the face. He holds him in the air, squeezing harder with each second. The man starts to try to scream, but the palm blocks any air passage. Within 13 seconds, the head exploded like a watermelon under a press. I love getting my hands dirty, the green yells. Yes, considering after the war we cause here, we will likely be kept behind closed doors with the leaders. I'm hoping to get some blood, another responds. No time to waste, Zaizor is waiting, the last green spoke. They nod and exit the building. Unbeknownst to the grunt whose tongue is cut is also stabbed in the kidney, which at the point the greens leave the house, he breathes his last breath. Sabotage the plumbing by the easiest means. Zaizor rises when most grunts are exterminated. A green reads, immediately and analyzes the best solution like the other 206. They decide to simply all clog the plumbing with paper towels. The thought is that each home will likely be fixed at the same time to avoid wasting time on the matter, meaning grunts would act as plumbers. They would not send a grunt without at least one other grunt to keep them protected either, which means 207 grunts will be occupied, while the in-home greens can swiftly kill the grunts, drastically reducing the firepower of the enemy. The plan plays out like clockwork while Carter and Monica quietly await for the signal. All the greens, including the two that got in a brawl, clog the drains in unison by forcing rolls of paper towels into the drains. The toilets quickly clog, and the greens are blowing up the courthouse with plumbing requests. They analyze the situation thoroughly, enough to even pretend to be upset about the toilets being clogged to avoid suspicions. Shortly after, grunts acting as plumbers, accompanied by one guard each, filled the streets. With such a vague instruction, the greens patiently wait to slaughter their victims, to see what their leader has in store for them. Meanwhile, one of the greens who torture the grunt for the info on Colossus is seen walking outside near a tree. Zaizor's black pupils auto-fixate on the green. The green proceeds to flash his crown's light in an almost Morse code that read, Mech suit, fire resist, cannon. The green quickly heads back home to await the plumbers. Of course they have a mech suit, Zaizor says under his breath.
You mean like the giant robot?
Monica asks. Zaizor ignores.
I don't think we have those.
She says. The government is full of secrets. Zaizor responds. Fire-resist elements will be difficult for my comets. This information is extremely valuable.
But how would your comets work?
I will just make them bigger and hotter. Knowing about the suit saved me from potentially using a small-scale comet. A mech can seriously hurt my body if I don't hold the offensive.
Nothing is fireproof, huh?
She asked. Not totally, he responds.
Won't you scorch hope?
She asks. That's my intention. Stick close to the greens. They will keep you out of harm's way, he adds.
When will you start?
She asks. Once I know that 414 grunts have been killed, once they are gone, we will just have to deal with snipers and Malkov. We won't give reinforcements time to help.
Do you think they started, killing the grunts?
Blood is in the air. I smell it.
It's a matter of time then?
She asks. Zaizor nods.
Please don't let Carter die.
She pleads softly. You're no longer hesitating. I assume you want your husband alive then? Zaizor asks.
He can toughen up, I'm sure.
She says. We'll see about that, he says to himself, and hopes to keep her focused. The greens across Hope were swiftly slicing the necks of the downed plumbers by various means. Some efficiently stab both grunts at the same time, while others have a struggle. However, 412 soldiers were stabbed to death by the Greens. Blood being spilled give the Greens hope and success. They all remain indoors, awaiting Zaizor's sign. However, one Green is having trouble altogether. The 8-year-old little boy paces around the kitchen as the two men adjust pipes. In his young mind, the fluid is having trouble overthrowing mental commands due to the boy's weak mind. Like putting a supercar engine in a rust bucket car. The Crown fights desperately to force the murder, but the boy breaks down in tears. The grunts are rushing to him. "What's wrong, son?" one yells. You, he mumbles. "Spit it out, kid," the other yells. "Everyone. All of you. All of the soldiers," he mumbles. "What are you saying, kid?" The first yells while getting closer to his face. "Zaizor will kill all of you. Anyone that is not crowned," he speaks softly. Relieved, his gilt cloak falls off. "What did you just say?" The second grunt screams as he lifts him by the horn of the crown. "I'm trying to help you. You must report this to Malkov," the boy yells. "What have you done?" "Zaizor will never forgive me, you idiot child," his crown screams. Everyone steps back, and he falls to his hands. "How dare you!" it screams. The crown begins to rumble and spark. The boy instantly goes into a seizure. The men run to his aid, but the boy foams at the mouth with a fried crown and a dead heart. The two men quickly call Malkov. "Sergeant Malkov, the plumbing was a setup. The one with the purple crown must have done this." "What?" Malkov screams. "I need one of you to call all local news stations, and the other, I need you to survey who we have left. We sent almost all of our men to resolve the plumbing issue today, but that was his plan. Move your feet ASAP, and keep your guns close," Malkov continues. "Yes, sir, Sergeant Malkov. What about reinforcements?" the first grunt asks. "If we hesitate, we will be killed tonight." They thought this plan out, so we must match that effort with a stronger one. "I am awaking Colossus," he says as he hangs up the phone. "Reinforcements. Ha! Colossus and I will handle this. Broadcast it on TV and the whole world will know how strong I am. The other ELMI-8 members and higher-ups will have no choice but to be impressed," Malkov thinks to himself. The two grunts report to their missions quickly. The surveying grunt walks outside to peer into the windows with his gun close. The city street is dead in the daylight. In the midst of hopping from house to house, the grunt manages to page one of the Sky Unit snipers. "High alert. We will be attacked tonight." Within seconds, the grunt sees the shimmer on the sniper's barrel hundreds of yards away. A silent acknowledgement.
So you will just attack the city hall alone?
Monica asks. The Greens will be prepping escape routes and taking out the remaining grunts here. The snipers will be a challenge. They cannot offer help, nor do I need any, however, he says. It's time to go. The air is silent, Zaizor says as he walks to the door. Zaizor reaches for the door handle to exit the home, when suddenly an intense pressure alerts him. "Get down!" Zaizor screams. Monica jumps to the bedside as the entire front side of the townhouse explodes with incredible force. Boards, pipes, and fire were all that could be seen at first, not without suffocating smoke, however. Monica coughs as she tosses rubble off herself. Zaizor was much closer to the blast than she, but seems to be unfazed and unharmed by the entrance of a monster. Colossus is a titanium giant, weighing about 40 tons. The right arm is equipped with a high-caliber cannon, where his left is tipped with a heavy machine gun. "Hello, Malkov," Zaizor hisses. "I didn't think I would be talking to Carter here tonight. What have you done to my soldiers?" Malkov responds through an intercom on Colossus. "Slaughtered like the swine they were," he shouts. Malkov, infuriated, aims the cannon right inside of the home. However, a comet the size of a basketball hits Colossus hard, sending his robotic knees to the ground, destroying the pavement. The body absorbed the shock, but the suit is sparking, from the contact. The fire would have consumed Zaizor and Monica, but hundreds of vents appear all over Colossus. The vents immediately inhale all the fire and shoot smoke out of another port. Fire resistant. Just like I thought, Zaizor says. How does he know? Malkov thinks to himself. So you know a trick of my friend here. Malkov speaks as Colossus slowly rises from the pavement. The rattling of a helicopter is heard, making Zaizor look to the skies. I will kill you, alien, and the entire world will see. You cannot win this. Fall to my iron fist. The helicopter closes in and begins to broadcast. They first capture Monica scaling down the rubble, heading towards the street. The helicopter goes for Zaizor and Colossus, but couldn't ignore the entire street lit up green. Zaizor's army stood at his side. Malkov was forced to look at the brightly lit section of the street to see all 200 crowns standing in order to attack. My army. Disable the men on this premises and leave here. We will rendezvous nearby. I do not need your help with this foolish human, Zaizor commands. The men did not hesitate and take Zaizor's direction in entirety. They run past Colossus. Colossus reaches for a group of them, but Zaizor appears next to him with godlike speed. He punches Colossus, pushing him about 4 feet back. Zaizor falls to his feet in front of him. Malkov scoffs and aims his machine gun at Zaizor, instantly firing. Zaizor circles him fast over and over again as the huge body matches the speed with ease. Ch! Zaizor yells as he jumps 20 feet in the air. A comet awaits him in the sky, and Zaizor harshly grabs it. It shakes him about vigorously as he hurls towards Colossus. Colossus only manages to brace himself as Zaizor and the comet connect with Colossus's head, sending sparks, metal pieces, and debris in all directions as the area fills with smoke. Neither opponent could see each other in the thick smoke. I'm too fast for you, Malkov, Zaizor screams. Colossus ignores and shoots the ground nearby with his tank cannon. The explosion is brutal and it sends Zaizor flying. He rolls hard after finally landing. The explosion also disperses the smoke, revealing the two to each other again. Reckless idiot, Zaizor thinks to himself. Colossus aims his machine gun at Zaizor, who has no cover. Quick, Zaizor, he thinks to himself. He stands up and points his hand to the oncoming bullets. Viciously die, Malkov screams. Zaizor smiles as right before the automatic rounds hit him, they were each met with miniature comets at the right amount of speed to stop them. This continues for minutes as the comets hit every bullet, halting them in their paths. What? Malkov thinks. The gun begins to overheat, which stops Colossus from shooting. That took too much fluid to be precise like that at a constant rate. I mustn't get trapped again. 70% of blue fluid remains in Zaizor's crown. I have to come down on him with tremendous force or I'm done for, Zaizor thinks to himself. A missile screams as it approaches Zaizor, but it is met with a high-speed comet. Zaizor uses the explosion for cover. 50% of his fluid drains from his crown as Zaizor preps a massive attack. Colossus appears at his side. So fast, Zaizor thinks as he is punched into a building, flying through the window hard. Zaizor jumps up to see his foe charging at the building. Zaizor had remained looking like Carter other than his blue eyes and sharp teeth. Changing the body to look how it is intended to look requires blue fluid. Zaizor knows he cannot defeat this formidable opponent without going all out, so he uses his special property, Comet. Colossus grabs at Zaizor, but he jumps on his large hand and runs up the shoulder. Colossus starts to vibrate, so Zaizor jumps high. Colossus's body is now vibrating violently. Colossus aims at Zaizor's falling body, which is about 30 feet in the air. The cannon's tip turns red hot before another bomb was shot. The cannon is met with a comet, causing it to explode and the ground to shake. The explosion makes Colossus lose balance. Now! Zaizor lands on the ground and sprints at Colossus at Mach speed. Colossus wildly fires off his machine gun as Zaizor closes in, jumping, sliding, and sidestepping every round. "He blew off my cannon! You blew off my cannon!" Malkov yells as Colossus quickly rights himself, making Zaizor slide to a stop about 10 feet in front of him. Malkov swings at him with his sparking broken arm, but Zaizor flips to avoid it. Without any moment of hesitation, Colossus begins swinging both arms wildly at Carter while charging. There are no openings. Every punch that hits the concrete feels like a bomb as Colossus gets closer with each blow. There isn't a window, Zaizor thinks as he avoids punches between thoughts. I don't have time for a comet. Fine. Malkov goes for a heavy punch. Zaizor's face darkens, and he winds back a massive blue arm 3 times the size of Carter's and punches at the oncoming metal. The 2 fists collide, making the pressure around the area thicken. Everyone that was watching the showdown is sent to the ground from the same pressure. The 2 stare at each other as neither lets up. How strong are they? Malkov thinks. He's not going to let up, Zaizor thinks. Fist to fist, the 2 are now sent 1 foot below street level from the force of the punch. Standing in the cratering ground is exactly what Zaizor was aiming for. 100 comets the size of grapefruits rain down 3 seconds between each other, each shooting into Colossus, making his huge body bounce around with each blow. Colossus lets up his punch to try to shield himself from the comets, but Zaizor is right at his face. Zaizor's entire right side of his body is in his alien form, solid blue with furious muscles. His evil dark face only shows Malkov a single blue eye as he winds back and punches Colossus in the face. The blue fist hit the face so hard that Colossus is sent to the ground and proceeds to get pummeled by the other 40 comets. The suit still manages to absorb the flames, so Zaizor approaches his fallen body. The explosions don't allow other sounds to be heard, but Malkov is freaking out within his mech. Every comet violently shakes the mech, and the heat inside is unbearable. Several alarms are all going off within. Before Zaizor reaches him, the suit ejects 2 propulsion engines from its feet. The 2 ignite and send Colossus several feet away from the raining comet. And now Colossus was hovering in front of Zaizor. Zaizor bends his knees and jumps, but Colossus instantly shoots over to him and he punches Zaizor hard, sending him skipping across the pavement. Carter restlessly squirms in the tub of blue fluid. He was waking up. The force of the punch was too much for Zaizor to handle. Not now, not now, Zaizor thinks to himself. His fluid dwindles to only 5%. Zaizor slowly picks himself from the ground in obvious pain. You look weaker, Carter. If you surrender now, I will consider sparing your life. He's still scared, Zaizor thinks. You're trying my patience, Zaizor says. Colossus ejects all his fire vents and flies at Zaizor like a rocket. This is it. His suit's failing on him. He's going to go all out. Colossus closes in. A mega comet is closing in to Malkov. The speeds of the comet and Colossus are the exact same. He will see it if I don't distract him. Zaizor raises his hand to send 3 comets to distract Malkov from the truck-sized comet targeting him, when suddenly Carter awakes slightly and sticks his head from the pool. No! Zaizor screams. Carter squirms about in the tub that has hardly any fluid remaining in it. This malfunction causes no distracting comets to land. Malkov, before punching Zaizor, notices the massive comet coming at him, something that can't be ignored. Colossus dodges the comet slightly, causing it to land in between them. Damn it! Zaizor screams. The 2 are sent flying in opposite directions as the massive comet connects into concrete. The entire city is scorched slightly from the blast, and even Colossus can't ignore the heat as the suit desperately inhales the flames. Zaizor uses the last of his fluid to keep Carter's body fireproof. Zaizor falls into a deep slumber, and Carter awakens in severe chest pain. He rolls about the ground violently as he grips at his damaged body. Colossus emerges from the flames, walking through them as his high-powered suit uses the unbroken vents to continue to inhale the inferno. That would have been trouble if it had hit me head on. Your plan was flawed, Malkov says. Carter lay there in tears. Malkov peels Carter from the ground, with helicopters closing in since the sky was now safe. Malkov holds his panicking body to the air in victory, and with all the mech suit's strength he slams Carter into the ground, cracking Carter's bones and splitting the crown on the back side. Zaizor is lying motionless in the dark cave as electricity dances around. The crown was malfunctioning. The slam makes Carter instantly pass out, and if it weren't for Zaizor's impressive DNA, he would have met his fate for sure. Carter awakens in a dark cell deep within the earth. Pitch darkness does not allow Carter to see anything, but his overwhelming pain prevents him from being scared of the darkness. He clenches his bruised body, but the pain is making him start to lose consciousness again. A soft voice is heard through the shadows.
Carter, are you awake?
Monica asks with a cough. Carter begins to howl in pain, causing Monica to rush to his side through the darkness. Saliva drips from his mouth as he howls in pain. It was a sound Monica will never be able to unhear.
What's going to happen, Carter?
She asks coldly. Carter can't even see darkness through his thick tears.
Will you answer me, Carter? For once, just talk to me.
She screams. Shh, shh, shut up, he mutters. She reactively punches the crown with all her force, slicing her knuckle. Carter is knocked to the hard floor as he continues to howl in pain. Monica remains still. Even though her hand is throbbing, she simply stares into the darkness as the cold fluid drips down her arm. One small light on the crown illuminates, which makes the whole room visible through the blue light. The two are in an old bank safe that was placed deep underground as a makeshift maximum security jail cell. The safe's original door was sealed tight, and no exits are available. The only thing that is in the cell is a small cup of water with no bedding or toilets. She quickly notices that Carter's crown has no fluid in its vial. She regrets hitting her husband and grabs his head to assess him for injuries. She frantically feels around the helmet as Carter finally stops his screaming.
Come on, Zaizor. Wake him up and heal him.
She yells. No response. She looks at her husband, whose eyes were now visible. He was just lying there, staring at the cell wall.
Carter, baby, talk to me, please.
She pleads. Carter looks over at her slowly and breaks out into tears, feeling hopeless. Monica steps away from her husband and stares at the wall, with a blank face, depressed about the state of her husband. She looks to him one last time before closing her eyes, falling asleep to his endless tears.